Sometimes you just can't help but smile. Matt Patricia knows this. The Lions are ready to host the Kansas City Chiefs, and the Chiefs go in there on quite a roll. Let's look at the game plan for the Chiefs versus Lions. Welcome back to RGR. I'm Ryan. This is me going rogue on the NFL and the Kansas City Chiefs, and this week the Detroit Lions as well. This is the game plan video, so we're going to look at what this matchup might mean, who can do what, and I'm going to sprinkle a few things in a little bit differently. I'm going to show you some clips, although not like the film room where I actually diagram them. We'll play them over as we talk here. And I'll try to get some bonus stuff for you guys as well. If you're new to the channel, make sure you hit the subscription button, hit that bell notification. If you're on mobile, drop it down so you get all the notifications for when we go live and when we have new videos go up. A lot of work goes on here. Leave your comment below and get into the conversation. And if you like this particular video, leave that thumbs up as well as any of the others. So for week 4, the Chiefs are going for the first time in Patrick Mahomes' career as a starting regular season quarterback, going into a dome. A lot of hubbub's been made about that, not so much by Patrick himself. I don't think it's particularly a big deal for him. It's not going to change the way that he plays. And we have seen in a preseason game where he's gone downtown before inside the dome in Atlanta. So not too confused about it or concerned about anything really changing. The surface does change a couple of things for a couple of players. In general, it makes your speed guys a little bit faster, so that should be really intriguing for Chiefs fans. Given what we've seen so far in this season, there's a lot of options there on the table, and we're going to talk about Pat and the offense here in a little bit. Now, to start on the defensive side of the ball, this team is getting better each week. I think they're starting to play better as a unit. I think they're doing decently at keeping the point totals down. This team will definitely stress them again. The Lions are 3-0 for a reason, and they've been able to kind of take advantage of what their strengths are with limiting mistakes as well. I look for this to be a week where the Lions offense has to change a little bit. We'll get to that in the second point. But to start off with, there's a lot going on in the passing game. And when you have an arm like Matt Stafford's, who's behind Patrick Mahomes, but still one of the top probably 5 arms in this league, it allows you a lot of possibilities. They like to do some things that are going to seem very familiar to Chiefs fans because they will run some strange sets. They'll do triangle trips. As we'll see here, they'll also do some plain 2 receiver stacks, and that kind of play really makes it easy for them to run combinations, and the combinations are really what make this offense tick. They are good at getting that underneath wide receiver to cut his route short and getting passes connected here in ways that maybe not every quarterback in the league can do because Stafford's arm is so strong. These are things that he can do. I expect Steve Spagnuolo to probably play off a little bit and look to manage his cornerback's responsibilities in terms of space rather than man. I think that's really the best way for this particular group of corners to play. You might see some things that remind you of last week in some of the strange things that they did. The Eagles did that to the Lions as well in mixing their coverages, playing man on one side and zone on the other, particularly if the Chiefs see stacks of either 2 or 3 wide receivers on a side. I would look for them to go to zone there. I like that concept, and I think that helps them, again, play to their strengths. Now, if it happens to be on Charvarius Ward's side, then they'll have to do a little bit of decision-making. You can mix that coverage as well. You can have a guy play man off the up guy in the triangle, play man here, play zones here, and that can help. But you also have to remember that there are a number of targets on this particular squad for the Lions. Galloway, I think he's filling in that third receiver role, even though he's out wide more. I think the 2 that you have to concentrate on the most are going to be clearly Marvin Jones, because Marvin can beat man coverage. He knows how to settle into the zones very, very well. I think he's the most dynamic of the pass catchers for the Detroit Lions, but he's not the only one. And I think Danny Amendola is probably the guy that's got the best matchup. We've seen him do things in years past against some corners that the Chiefs have had and no longer have, but against guys like Kendall Fuller that he can get away from. He is shifty, and I think the underneath routes for him in particular are something that the Detroit Lions are going to look to accomplish. Now, that can be thwarted not only with man coverage from Kendall Fuller, who I think has been playing a little bit better lately, but it can also be thwarted by how you drop your zones. And I think Damian Wilson's been playing very well in coverage lately. Darren Lee's okay, not quite as good, but I think you can play to that strength and have your linebackers do a little bit more than they have previously, especially in those shallow drops. So I look for those to play a lot of zone underneath. Now, Kerryon Johnson is a young running back that I really liked coming out of college, and I think the Detroit Lions are going to like him quite a bit as well. They seem to so far, although he has gotten off to kind of a slow start. I think they're going to change that up here pretty quickly. Now, Matt Patricia is very aware of just what the running game can do for him against Patrick Mahomes.
Rather him be in the pocket or outside
Yeah,
the pocket?
probably neither. I think right now what you're seeing on tape is you're seeing him extremely efficient on the sidelines, probably where I'd like to see him the most. But
and to do that, you have to be able to run the ball with your offense to keep Pat Mahomes on the sidelines. And this is where Kerryon Johnson comes in, who hasn't had a stellar start, 2.6 yards per carry to this point in the season, but is a guy who I think is getting incrementally better and I think has a lot of potential. This Chiefs team's been weak against the run. They're better than last year, but they're still giving up a ton of yards. To combat what I expect to be a pretty heavy run attack, I'd like to see Reggie Racklin active again. I'd like to see a lot more linebacker blitzing on early downs. And if they do happen to go play action, at least you have that pressure in the A-gaps trying to get to Stafford. And I think that's something that could pay off for the Chiefs a lot this week against a more old school kind of attack. When the Chiefs do have the ball, there's one thing that has to be paramount over everything else, and that's to do a better job protecting Pat Mahomes.
as far as when he's out there, he makes a lot of changes, a lot of adjustments, works really well with the offensive line to get the protection systems organized. You'll see the mic points, the repoints, and kind of making sure that everything is picked up from a blitz standpoint.
Now, Cam Irving has a tall task replacing Eric Fisher, but we have seen him be beaten early and then recover as a game wears on and get to the point where he's actually quite solid later in the contest. And I think if the Chiefs can use their motion and in their 15-play script to begin the game, especially during that time, if they can incorporate some of those motions to then chip at the outside pass rusher against Irving to help him just a little bit, I think that's something that could pay off very well. He is going to see a lot of Trey Flowers, a player that played well against them when he was in New England, a player that Coach Daly knows very well. So I think they'll know how to combat him. I want to see if they do, or if they just try to do what they always do and ride with their tackles on islands and let them play it out one-on-one. If that is true, you're going to see some short rollouts like we've seen the last few weeks, and I expect to see some more quick-hitting type patterns because, like we saw earlier, the Lions can do a bit of both in terms of how they attack. They have one very good corner in Slay, who we've had some talks about in trades. I think he's going to be a guy that isn't going to get beat very often. He is susceptible, and I do think that this team in particular is going to try to mask what they do. I expect this to be a very heavily influenced game by Matt Patricia in trying to do what some of the things that New England does in varying pressure, varying the press, trying to get physical and disrupt plays early. That's what I expect from Matt Patricia and his group. Now, I think there's susceptibility deep. I think definitely the stranger play action, especially some of the lateral movement behind the line of scrimmage, the motions that turn into play action even when you don't have a running back, that's something that's really going to pay off against this particular team. So I expect more of the same, and we'll see if they have any problems affecting their game plan and whether they can actually keep up and not have blown coverages like we've seen the last few weeks. And whether they have an explosive second quarter or not, I think we're going to see more settling down and using the running backs. I think the screen game is going to be particularly important. They've been really banging on the screen game lately. A lot of effective play calls there. I like Darrel Williams as the starter. I like LeSean, whether he starts or who comes in for who. Don't have an exact feel for just how good LeSean's feeling and what he'll be able to do. I know he retweaked after last game. We'll see if he can hang up or if they're going to give a little bit more carry to Darrel Williams, which I'm perfectly comfortable with. Thought he did well with that last week. And I want to see them not only do that, but get Sherman in the game a little bit more. They love to pass to him, but I want to see him in kind of an H-back role to help maybe with Irving, help with some of the 2 tight end sets, and then be able to motion into a run heavy if they want. Want to get better production out of the goal line short yardage type situations. So it doesn't all have to be Patrick. But overall, I'm feeling pretty good about this. If you want to hear my prediction, it's on the Locked On Chiefs Friday show on the podcast. Check that out. Let me know what you think. How are you feeling about this game? What are you expecting to see, and what are you looking for? Leave your comments below. If you're not subbed, make sure you hit the sub and the bell notification and the thumbs up if you like this video. I appreciate everything you guys have been doing. Look out for a little extra video tomorrow. Make sure you check out these, and I'll talk to you then.